What if everything you thought you knew about the Bible was only part of the story? What if I told you that the God of the Bible might have been just one of many, and that Jesus Christ might not be who you think he is? It's a bold claim, but stick with me. For centuries, the Bible has been the cornerstone of faith for millions. But beneath the surface lies a series of questions that could unravel the entire foundation. Who was Jesus really? Was he unique, or one of many divine figures? And if original sin never existed, why was he sent at all? Let's dive into the ancient texts, forgotten scriptures, and historical clues that might change everything you know about Christianity. The problem is simple but profound. If the Old Testament cannot stand under scrutiny, can the New Testament exist at all? And if original sin is called into question, the very purpose of Jesus Christ's mission may crumble. This isn't just speculation. Early church fathers and critics alike raised similar doubts. Let's take a closer look at what they said. Let's start with an uncomfortable but fascinating observation. In the 2nd century, a philosopher named Celsus challenged Christians directly. In his work, The True Discourse, he wrote about how Christians believed that divine figures came down to earth. Not just once, but in groups of 60 to 70 at a time. Yes, you heard that right. Celsus tells us that Christians believed others like Jesus appeared in the past, not just him. This wasn't heresy. This was part of early Christian thought. In fact, church fathers like Justin Martyr, one of the most revered saints, openly admitted this. In his apology to Emperor Antoninus Pius, Justin Martyr writes that Jesus was no different from the sons of Zeus. He compares Christ to figures like Hermes, Asclepius, and Heracles. Ours is like yours, he says. So why do you persecute us? Take a moment to think about that. One of the founding voices of the church compared Jesus to the Greek gods. And it doesn't stop there. The Old Testament is filled with strange accounts of divine beings coming to earth. In Genesis, we hear about the sons of the Elohim, divine beings who saw the daughters of men and took them as wives. Their children, the Gibborim, the great heroes of old. Sound familiar? Hercules, Achilles, all those half-human, half-divine figures from mythology. The Bible tells a very similar story. And then there's Gabriel. When Gabriel appears to Daniel, he arrives as an Ish, a man, not some ethereal spirit. Gabriel visits Elizabeth, and she conceives John the Baptist. Then Gabriel visits Mary, and she conceives Jesus. But here's the twist. Gabriel isn't just a name. In Hebrew, Gavriel means the power of El. El being one of the gods or divine beings. Gabriel wasn't simply an angel, he was a manifestation of divine power. Or maybe even an Elohim himself. Even more curious is how the Holy Spirit fits into this. According to the Jesuit scholar Jean Danielou, the Holy Spirit is nothing more than a reimagining of Gabriel. Danielou's studies suggest that the Holy Spirit, in early Christian thought, was the same divine force that interacted with humanity throughout the Old Testament. And here's where things get even more controversial. When Gabriel greets Mary in the Gospel of Luke, he says, "Kyrie kekaritomene," often translated as "Hail, full of grace." But the word kekaritomene doesn't mean full of grace in the spiritual sense. It's closer to saying, "Hello, beautiful." Gabriel's greeting isn't divine flattery, it's much more human. And this is where the whole narrative shifts. If Gabriel or the Holy Spirit was a divine but physical being, and if Mary conceived in the presence of this being, then the idea of a miraculous virgin birth takes on an entirely new meaning. Joseph's doubts make more sense. The Gospels hint that Joseph feared Mary had been deceived by someone pretending to be an angel. Suddenly, the lines between divinity and humanity blur. The Jesus we know, the one taught in Sunday school, might not be the same figure early Christians envisioned. And this brings us back to the critical question: if original sin isn't real, why did Jesus come? Over time, the Church moved away from these early ideas. By the time of the Nicene Creed, Christianity had been reshaped into what we recognize today. The strange stories, the comparisons to pagan gods, and the doubts about original sin were quietly set aside. But they were never erased. They still exist in the writings of saints, church fathers, and ancient critics. Perhaps it's time to look at these texts with fresh eyes, not to destroy faith, but to deepen understanding. The Bible may hold more mysteries than answers, but that's exactly what makes it so compelling. Subscribe for more stories that challenge what you think you know.